both the sports are quite contrast. If I talk about it, basketball is endurance. There are certain things, while as a shooters we tend to look at, we have win flags. I realized there was still a larger amount of athletes who were still worried about how would they transition or how get that fear kick in inside you by thinking in too much in advance about how things will happen.
Hello, and thanks for tuning in today. This week's episode is brought to you in conjunction with Upskilled and their mini MBA. If you want to get the skills and knowledge to help move you forward without all of the big expense, then this mini MBA with Upskilled is the right way to go. Follow the link in the show notes and you can get $500 off. Shreya, welcome to the Second Wind Academy podcast. Great to have you join me today.
Thank you, Ryan.
So we've got a lot to catch up on because since we last spoke, originally, we're talking just about the athlete career transition, but even looking behind you, so much has changed since we last spoke. So where are you now and what are you up to?
So I am currently in Germany. I recently got married. I am an rifle shooter by profession, and I have shifted from India, which is my home country, to Germany now. So it's quite a transition, if I can say, as an athlete. I think it's like, I'm slowly sliding in the phase of, the marriage and as well as trying to keep up my athletic passion alive inside me.
Yes, yeah. Listen, that's amazing because we talk so much. Well, actually, I should just say congratulations because I haven't spoken to you since you got married. So I've got to say massive congrats.
Thank you.
And I have to say, when you said you were moving, I just thought, oh yeah, you're moving. I didn't realize you're moving continents as at the same time. So all the more all more sort of big congrats. It's probably going to be something we talk about is being able to manage multiple things because in terms of your study assignments, how's that going?
So I just completed my master's in sports management, which was a 2-year degree. So it just completed on time, and I just received my convocation certificate back in India from Indian Institute of Rohtak, Indian Institute of Management. So now I'm all set to also, explore more opportunities and possibilities of getting myself into a management role in sports. So heading to Germany now, the amount of possibilities which I can see here is immense. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, because look, I think precision is certainly something that I can describe about you, and as we've spoken, that ability to remain calm under pressure. But finishing off your master, moving country, getting married, remaining competitive, all of those things over this past sort of few months, absolutely brilliant. Going to love delving a little bit more into how you manage that, and certainly taking out a few tips as well. So thanks again for, I'm going to say, carving out the time to have this conversation. Brilliant.
Yeah,
So
I think
let's
I'll love. Yeah.
so let's go into this a little bit more. So talk to me a bit about from a sporting perspective, because you just mentioned there shooting. Now that's not, in fact, I've never done shooting. So I'm curious, how did you get into that as a sport?
Okay, so first of all, for everyone to understand, it's not a camera shooting, which mostly people and people around me get confused with. So it's a rifle sporting event. So I am a rifle shooter. So it's in the Olympic. It's an Olympic event, and I particularly do three position event, which is at a distance of 50 meters. So we have a full-fledged rifle weighing around 5 kgs or 6 kgs, and according to the customs which we try to make on the rifle, and at a distance of 50 meters, and also an event called 10 meters, we shoot at a target, which is, if I can give you a reference, it's approximately for a 10-meter distance, we shoot at zero point 0.5 mm of the center in order to get up in the ranking. So that's the specifications of the sport. And if I talk about how I got into shooting, was I was prior to taking up the sport like shooting, I was a basketball player. I was playing nationally, representing my state back in my home country, India. And with I come from a background of military father who has always been getting posted from one state to another. So if I used to always feel so sad when I had to leave my, the team where I have played for
Yeah.
3 years or 4 years, and then leave it and then shift completely and from the scratch again start with
Mm.
another set of people who are in the team, and then you are trying to adjust. So it has been like my whole journey since childhood.
Yeah, but so Shreya,
So,
I do have to ask you,
mhm.
talking certainly that movement and having to move teams and make friends and things like that. You mentioned basketball, right? Playing at that top level.
Yeah.
How tall are you?
I am 5'4". I have been the shortest of my team. Shortest, uh, I think the dribbler, the fast pacer, if I
Yeah,
may call
but
myself like that.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
have been going between the legs and trying to, reach the basket of the
yeah.
other opponent team.
But I mean, it's a good effort for you. I'd say naturally to be, well, not necessarily the tallest in the team, but it's definitely a sport that you enjoyed playing and you're able to sort of push it. And for age for age, you're able to take you as far as you could. So when you were playing that
Yeah.
sport as a young, to what extent did you have dreams of saying, well, that's going to be, you're going to go to the Olympics, you're going to be playing basketball? Was that something that you dreamt of?
When I was playing basketball, as frank as I can be, in India, we don't have that much of scope to even dream as much as we can dream to reach Olympics. But through basketball, there is a lot of limitations. As a team, we are still progressing towards that dream of, representing as a team from India in Olympics in basketball.
Yeah.
So, though it is widely played, but I never dreamt of, reaching Olympics when I was back playing basketball. It was only when I shifted to shooting where I could see the scope, or where I could also see the scope because I could see that I could take my sport along with me wherever I'm going.
So what
So, it's like, yeah.
Hi, I want to take this moment to thank Upskilled and their mini MBA for sponsoring this week's session. One of the great things about their mini MBA is it allows you to gain the skills and knowledge to help propel you that little bit further forward. It gets you understanding the vocabulary in the room and also gives you some of those skills to navigate the corporate career, the government career, or indeed stepping into not for profit. So, big thanks for Upskilled and the mini MBA for sponsoring this week. And hey, check it out. Link in the show notes. You can get $500 off. I was just saying, what is it that helped you to transition? What made you either add shooting into your sporting activities? What happened? What took place for you?
I think that was what I would give credit to my parents because they could see as a child I was literally passionate about playing sports, and I was in a sport like basketball. And they could see that, every time there was a time to move from one place to another, I would be disheartened by the whole thought of leaving my team and my group, and for that matter, coach, and then shift to a particular different, altogether different space and trying to adjust there. I think that made me and my parents talk about it, and all thanks to them that they told me and gave me an insight that why don't you, take a sport which you can carry it along wherever you go. So yeah, that I think changed my whole, I would say, focus from, basketball to another sport like shooting.
Yeah, and so how was that for you? Now, you'd gone from playing and being, I'll say, becoming proficient or good at basketball to then going into another
Mhm.
sport. Where did you start and what was it like for you?
So if I can recall, I really didn't leave basketball. Yet I started my whole thing of shooting.
Yeah.
Uh, I used to go to the range with my dad, and my dad was a motivator to, take me to the range after a morning practice of basketball and my school finished, like the school hours finished, and then he would be like, okay, let's go and try our hand at shooting now. So it was, I would say, kind of the motivation came from my dad, but particularly, I would say the transition didn't happen that a cut in a way I used to play basketball and then I started shooting. It
Yeah.
was side by side, balancing both, and then slowly focusing more on shooting and leaving basketball and saying goodbye to it.
And what was it that drove? What did you start to see? Did you start, is it a competitive sport at a young age? What is it that, what did you start to see that meant you went from being just a novice and doing this because your dad was taking you to actually feeling like this was something
Hmm.
you,
So I think both the sports are quite contrast. If I talk about it, basketball is endurance based. You are on your feet, and you're running, and heartbeat is up, and like it's a completely different sport to a shooting where you stand and for continuously for the next maybe 1.5 hours you are just focusing at a target, and there is a process, a rhythm, a sync, which is continuously like as calm can you be, how between the two heartbeats can you trigger. And it was quite a contrast, but talking about what you asked, I felt I was able to understand more about myself while I was holding the rifle because I had time to reflect or ask myself whether, oh, okay, let's shoot at the target, but am I feeling confident? Am I, having some thoughts? So I think that kind of inclined me towards the sport shooting and choose shooting.
yeah. So when did you realize you were good at it?
I think the first match, which was in 2014, as a 11th grader, I had gone and played a competition, and I played the match and I realized that my coaches started saying that she has a talent. She doesn't look back when she is shooting. She's looking at the target and she's looking at herself and to improve. So she is not the person who is looking behind for some guidance at that moment, and she seems to have a hold on herself. I think that was a quite a thing to for my dad to realize that I needed or he needed me to be, more focused on shooting and give more guidance and find a coach or find a supporting team which can make me further go in the sport.
And with that shift, you touched on it there, this change from the fast pace of basketball to this slower
Mhm.
pace of rifle shooting. How did you how did you
Yeah.
make that shift? Right. I mean, I really mean that because I'm thinking, I'm hyper, I'm active. Let's go. Let's do this. To one where, as you say, you are
Mm.
still 90 minutes focused on a target. How do you how do you make that
Mm.
shift?
I think partly it came from the way I can recall we used to, the family used to move from one place to another. So it was always, you're not looking forward what you're going to get in that place, or for that matter, what you have chosen for yourself. You are just going open-heartedly towards that play, towards that thing, and just accepting it that, okay, what may come, I'm going to do my best and
Mhm.
just put all the cards in front of the table. So I think for me, it was like that. From transitioning to from basketball to shooting, it was
Yeah.
okay. There is a new thing to learn. There's a new sport, and I'm not going to get that I have reached a level in my previous sport. I'm going to let more possibilities of learning come to me by opening that door for myself.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's really good. A good way of thinking about it. And it's really interesting how with family support, you picked a sport that enabled you to continue to progress. So I guess a solo sport that enabled you to continue to progress no matter where you were living. I
Mhm.
am then from an academic, that education perspective. Where did
Mhm.
that rank your priorities?
I think I have been in this shooting sport for over a decade. I have done it for 10 years now. And around after putting a lot of hard work and reaching to a level of even earning a medal at World Cup for my country, I realized that there was something, there was that urge of maybe I need something more to brainstorm or think about to learn, because I felt myself working as a machine, if I can be as open about it, that it felt like the techniques the coach has told you, the whole athletic way of mechanism, that you go, you train at a range, then you come back, you sleep, then you go for your physical fitness, then there is mental training or a nutritionist session, and then you sleep, and then again in the morning the session starts. And it was kind of like a very monotonous kind of a feeling, which I started to get after 7 years.
So,
And I
so
won't
if
say that it, sorry.
if, so if I can then just to take you back because I feel like I skipped a bit because for you as a
Hmm.
youngster coming into this game, 18, finishing school, right? Um,
Yeah.
you is rifle shooting. Did you see an opportunity for that to become I guess a full-time sport?
Yeah, I did see that possibility. And for at least 2 years, though I had not sidelined my studies, I used to
Hmm.
still study. But frankly, it was more of just going to the college, studying for that bit, for the purpose of just making the mark,
Hmm.
or, getting the scores. But
Yeah.
the more focus was on shooting.
Right.
And
Okay.
only only after some time I realized that I need to also brush up my skills in the academics which I'm learning, because
Mm.
as much as sport is important and it's very well known in a lot of you people tell you that when you get into one thing, you solely give yourself and your soul to it, and you will achieve everything which you want. But I think I got a different perspective, or I felt I wanted to do something different. I wanted to, yes, be called a shooter, elite shooter in a sport which I am in. But I really didn't wanted to kind of get a tag that she is just a shooter.
Okay.
I wanted more. She is a overall person who knows or is able to, talk about different things, has knowledge about different things.
What do you think drove you to want to be more than just a rifle shooter?
I think there was uh, I think social meet I had gone to personally, if I can recall. There was kind of like a party, and it was out from the shooting fraternity where I was, very comfortable mostly with. So it was none of those people, and I had gone to this place and I saw those people talking about different perspectives, different things, talking about their corporate life, career, things like that, or for that matter, even, money management. And for a moment, I could converse, but then I realized those people are not able to relate to me, and neither am I I'm able to relate to them. And that made me question that as much as I am a pro athlete in my sport, but apart from that, when I come from that bubble out to a different bubble of people conversing in different, ideas with different ideas, I'm not able to even understand or, get it into my mind or brain. And I think that made me realize that, okay, I need to, open up my horizon of knowledge and be open to more knowledge so that I don't just remain a athlete who just knows a particular sport. I want to know and be able to converse with people and make them comfortable as well as myself comfortable, because that was important for me to have confidence in that bubble of sport, but in different areas also.
Fascinating that you saw yourself, or you recognized the fact you were uncomfortable, or that you couldn't converse as long as you wanted to with people outside of your sport. So interesting that you're aware of, or that you recognize that fact. So what did you decide to
Mm.
do about it?
I decided to enroll myself in a course. First of all, I did my master's in psychology. So the first thing was to understand the human mind, because I was too much into, thinking, how can I, understand about myself more?
Right.
And I also do not wanted to divert from my mind, divert from my sport. I didn't want
Mm.
it completely to have a, academic position where I have to totally get out from my sport. So I
Mm.
wanted a balance. So in order to get that balance, I chose psychology as my
Yeah.
master's, and I enrolled in that immediately.
And so was you I love that immediately. Boom, that's it. And but it sounds like, so I suppose before we move forward, I suppose I want to go back. I understand a little bit more then about why psychology, why your mind, why sort of the understanding of self is so important when I think to me it seems like it seems to be linked between you and the sport, and the fact that the two together made psychology interesting. Probably not making a lot of sense, but so tell me then, when
Right.
you are shooting, well, in fact, I'll pause there and I'll say, if
Mhm.
it made sense to you, awesome. Because I guess my question is, why the two together? When you're shooting, do you take yourself kind of somewhere else and and start thinking more about your mind and calming yourself down? Talk to you a bit about that.
Okay. So, I think it's for me, shooting is like meditation, and anyone who would have done meditation, where you kind of get inside yourself, internalize, and try to understand where the soul, if I may call that, the peace, calmness comes from. So that is something like what I found in shooting. And shooting gives you a lot of time. It's if we talk about uh, self-actualization, or to make it more simpler, it's very simple. What you think, it happens. And it's a lot of people would tend to say that at many times you will hear that, that whatever you think for yourself or for anyone else, it kind of materializes in future for you. So in shooting also, uh, there it's like a fraction of seconds to trigger and put your bullet into the target. And while we are doing that, in those fraction seconds, I realized even if I'm thinking that okay, uh, it's not, it's like I'm not thinking that I want to shoot a 9. I want to, of course, shoot a 10, which is the perfect, a target. But even if this thought comes inside me that, oh, you might just shoot a 9 now, it will happen.
Yeah,
And that was something which, while shooting, I realized, how can I stop this? Because it's kind of like fighting.
yeah,
There are two minds fighting. There are two Shreyas who are fighting with themselves. And this happens a lot in a daily life also. Like, you're walking the road and you look at someone and you're like, okay, I think there's a red light. Let's jump, let's jump the red light. And then there's one which is saying, no, don't jump the red light. Otherwise you will get fined.
yes.
So there are always two minds always speaking. So that was quite evident in, um, while I was shooting. And that made me kind of understand more about, okay, there are two voices. How can I understand them more?
So what I take from that, let me unpack that in my mind as well, is visualization is key in rifle shooting. And
Yeah.
if that's you're practicing on such a regular basis, you trained yourself around that visualization and manifestation in some respects, but manifesting that you're hitting a 10
Right.
and keeping that real focus. You said something earlier on which I thought was really intriguing, which was pulling the trigger in between the heartbeats. And I was thinking, heartbeat. You probably noticed I went off from a little moment, and I'm thinking, how slow does my heartbeat have to become in order to pull a trigger in between each heartbeat? So that state must have to get into. How do you tell me if I'm just going crazy, but how do you slow everything down and focus on this target that could be 50 meters away?
Yeah. So, so that was just a reference which I have heard a lot of times from my coaches in my sport, that you shoot between the heartbeats, but it's not particularly that we practice for that. It is something which is again subconsciously done with ourselves. It's like we are on an autopilot kind of. The body works in an autopilot way,
Yeah.
and you just focus on your breathing, and
Hmm.
there is a sync. It's like a sync which you and your mind has to your body parts. So over a period of time, when you practice, you get to know, okay, I still don't know whether all the 60 triggers are in between the heartbeat or not,
Hmm.
but that's basically to go about it. It's all done subconsciously. It's all
Yeah.
God's, way of making us.
Yeah. Brilliant. No, no, sorry, and like I said, like I warned at the start, I'm fascinated because you are the first rifle shooter that I've had on the show, and I think the conversations we've had before have really just got me thinking about what an interesting sport. It's such a different way to me being in football, predominantly, where it is all out. And as calm as I may be on the football field, it feels like it's nothing compared to what you need to be on a rifle range. And even on that, and 50 meters away, 50 meters outside, wind, rain. I'm guessing. I don't know if you shoot in the rain or do you stop, but you've got all of these
Yeah.
outside that are coming into play.
Factors.
Yeah. Is this something? think about, whilst you were sort of coming down into that calm state before you pull the trigger?
Yeah, we do have a lot of factors. So while we shoot, yeah. So we do have a lot of factors while we shoot at a distance of 50 meters. We have wind, we have even the weather change, the sunlight, at which direction it is, and how it is projecting on the target. For that matter, rain, like you said, there are n number of factors which can come into play while we are shooting. The main focus while we shoot is definitely, brushing up our skills and being in the process of our way of technically shooting, or trying to, be in that moment of calmness. There are certain things while as a shooters we tend to look at. We have wind flags. It's basically red colored flags at a distance of 20 and 10 meters. So we do tend to 15 meters and basically 25 meters, and we tend to have those flags for our reference so that we know that at what angle or at what intensity the wind is going. So we definitely don't tend to shoot once the grouping of the rifle is done to the target. Grouping is basically the midpoint of the setting of the sights, which we do with a rifle to the target. So once we do that and we start, we still don't have any power to control the wind or, for those matter, the sunlight. But we tend to just look that the wind flags, or for that matter, the sunlight, it doesn't affect us to a great extent, and that's how we shoot. So while we are doing that, there are external things to look at, but internally, we know that we still cannot be too worked up or be worried about, oh, the wind is coming, so we how will we shoot? Because we cannot worry ourselves, because the moment we think we are worried, the fear kicks in, and the fear kicks in, the whole muscles, the body parts, everything gets tensed up. So it's a matter of balancing again, knowing that, okay, everything, and it still happens. On a very good day, you can be a very good athlete, all prepared, and just that one thing where you're not able to focus and put your mind in a calmer state can just lead you to, go down the ranking. So
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
quite a sport.
Yeah, it is. It is quite a sport. And, as I'm listening to you and, we're thinking about this whole, career transition and steps that we do to set ourselves up. What's really interesting about what I'm taking at the moment from you in rifle shooting is you've got all of these external factors, and it feels like this, I'll say chaos, right? This perfect level of chaos in terms of the number of factors that can move the rifle you're shooting and the bullet ultimately to try and hit that target. And it reminds me so much of what we go through in life in terms of trying to find
Yeah,
our path, and and the
correct.
fact impact it. But what you said there was really beautiful as well, in that irrespective of what's happening around you and the wind, the rain, all of those things, it's how do you then focus and make sure you're calm inside and you have a strong sense of self and actually your own abilities as well.
Yeah. That is something which I realized, and I could very well relate from my sport to my general life. Like from the starting of the conversation, like you said, how are you, managing these things? I look life like the sport, and I thank my sport to give this insight to me, because there are a lot of possibilities, a lot of factors which will keep on changing. They are meant to happen like that, but what stays constant is you and your belief in that you can stay calm and you can still move forward, irrespective of whatever factors or things come,
Yeah.
in front of your path.
Yeah, and you're really demonstrating that, like we said, in you're taking from your sport and you're bringing up some of those, at least from the outside perspective, to me, looking some of those characteristics, and you're able to apply those in your day to day life. Now, building from that, then, you recognized you were living in one bubble and very successful, as you mentioned, representing your country, winning medals. This is a bubble that you're very comfortable in. A desire to leap out and sort of become more comfortable in the real world or another bubble in some respects.
Mhm.
Doing the course, doing the masters or doing psychology, where did you start to think you wanted to end up after sport? To what extent did that really start to cement itself? Or were you more just moving and, hey, I'm just going to take one step at a time?
Yeah, that's a great question because I think that happened for me a few years ago when I could see. So in India, in my sport particularly, now there are a lot of youth which is coming in our sport, and they are doing wonders. They have the support of sports science. They have the advantage of the Olympians who have already been there and they have experience. So with that, the youth is progressing at a much faster rate in their sport. Where you have different, whether it's a nutritionist, the availability of sports science is great now in our country. And when we look at how these youngsters are doing well, I realized there was still a larger amount of athletes who were still worried about how would they transition or how would they, what should they do next
Mhm.
if they are not able to uh, do well in their sport. And since a country like India, which is full of, it's a huge population we have,
Mm.
you can see there are only 15% of athletes who are able to go at the top and remain at the top. But the rest, 75%, they are thinking what to do next
Mhm.
and how can we, channelize that energy to something different. So when I
Mhm.
saw that, I happened to question myself again that, okay, I have got some kind of insight from my way of being and my journey in life, but how can I contribute or how can I contribute back to my sporting fraternity in a way where these athletes are able to get something or understand something more about themselves, and it's completely normal.
Yeah.
So I think that made me, shift and understand more about getting into the role of sports management or getting into the role of athlete management. And that's how I took up sports management course.
Mhm. It's brilliant, and I can see how you're thinking. So you're thinking that through. So, like, today or right now, from your athletic perspective, from your sport perspective, what's next for you there? What's the next phase or the next steps?
So the next step, I'm still not looking too forward or going too optimistic for that matter, because that's not the way I like to go. I like to keep things coming up and then see. But I didn't want it to shifting from one continent to another is a big thing for me, and I'm
It is.
still in that adjustment phase of living my life and enjoying my life with my husband, and side by side not giving up my sport because that still connects me and makes me learn more about my day-to-day things. So I have joined a Bundesliga team in Germany, which is basically a sporting rifle club, and there is a Bundesliga happening in Germany. So we all the clubs tend to have 10-meter competition between themselves. So I'm part of a Petersburg team in Fulda, Germany. So I recently, on I think just 3 days back, I came back from their home range and I performed well. So now
Yeah.
looking forward, it's like shifting and then staying connected to my sport in some way or the other, being
Mm.
having that athletic, I would say, living, making that athlete also happy within myself, as much as also, focusing on the careers which I can get into as a management role in sports.
Yes, I like that. Keeping the athlete in you happy whilst focusing on your career. It's very nicely put. And so now, I mean, the big challenge, of course, if you were in India, you would have a natural network around you, uh, you know, being where you were growing up. Now you've moved to Germany and moving into sport and sport management. How are you going about, identifying the roles or those opportunities?
Yeah, so it's how I look at it is that only the difference between countries or people or all of us is maybe the language, maybe the way of being, the value system. And if that is there, because one thing which connects all of us is the sport or the Olympic movement, if I may talk about it. So the values, if those are same across continents, I don't see it's going to be much. I personally feel that it's going to be much of a difference. Except, yes, I'm in the process of learning German now because I know that's a big next task to understand that language so that I can speak and converse with maybe people here and grow that network. Definitely, there were a lot of questions, I may say, when I was planning to shift from India because it's a comfort zone for me. I know
Mm.
people, I have known the fraternity, and it's very important. Like, it's very easy if I have some problem or if I need someone, I just know I can just walk up to that guy and talk about that problem. But here I know I'm new, but that is, I'm new. People are new to me, but for people also, I'm new. So I see that as a greater possibility or opportunity to, connect.
Yeah, it is. Well, I think it is a great opportunity to connect, and you've said it great because what you've done, what I take from what you've done, you're in a new country. You're trying to get a role or kickstart I guess, a non-sporting career, and the first thing that you did was found a sports club where you could go and practice the sport that you know and love. And with that, as you mentioned, it breaks down the language. There's no language barrier because you
Yeah.
all talk about that sport, and from there, that gives you the confidence because I can see it as you're talking about it to then connect with other people, and bit by bit, you will
Yeah.
step forward and you'll move, and that network will become just as comfortable for you. And to me, that's great because I've written about it myself. I learned French, moved to France, but I
Mm.
played in France, and because of
Yeah.
that, I learned the language. Quite sports
Mm.
specific times, and maybe a bit too colourful. But I learned the language from what would have been my football friends, and
Yeah.
that became a stone for after university to move back there. So
Yeah.
I get where you're coming from. It's a great way to enter a country.
Yeah. I think uh, for that matter, even when you expressed your way of shifting to France and learning the French language, it's all about the fusion of two different perspectives. So it's such a strong bond which people can have if they have, or we are able to combine two different perspectives from two different places or way of being. And it just makes the whole thing so powerful, the sporting fraternity, the possibility of trying to develop something new. And I think that's what personally I look forward to, that how can two very different perspectives with, of course, some kind of common understanding of sport, which is common, we can, have people who can associate, understand more about how to go forward.
Mm. Yeah, you're right. It's a great way of bringing things together and around the sport, and yeah, it's quite diverse. I, well, well, well. Oddly enough, then I asked this weird question, perhaps, but in terms of shooting, now you're in this club. How how different does it feel? I mean, language wise, what does it feel like a great difference, or does it actually feel there's so much more in common?
I think I had a great experience. Personally, this was my first match being played, debut match in Bundesliga, and the team was quite welcoming because for them, they knew that the one common factor is that she is also a shooter and we are too. The language is a barrier, and I think they made their best efforts to speak in English, or for that matter, even when they were trying to speak in their own language, I was trying to understand through their, expressions. But
Yes.
it was a joint effort which made it successful for us to have a very good understanding about the whole, the match, or for that matter, even the celebration after that.
Yeah.
And I think that was all that was needed. If you kind of welcome, they made me feel welcomed. And I think
Yeah.
that made me that confident that I am part of this place. And it's very important to feel that way because language can be a barrier, and I do understand I might have people in future who might not being able to speak in English and I will not be able to understand. But if still the direction for both the
Mhm.
parties are towards one direction, then it's still fine, I feel.
Yeah. Look, from my experience, I guarantee living there, being immersed in a sport club where German, in this instance, is that language, and that's what you're hearing, and listening to music and that type of thing. 3 4 months, it will be a completely different place for you, just because what I
Yeah.
found. But you walk down the street, and when you're at home, you hear little bits of every conversation. Whereas suddenly in a foreign
Right.
country, you don't hear anything else because you don't understand anything that comes
Mm.
in. Wait, one of the best moments of my of my time living overseas, actually, even in Hong Kong, right, was when I could
Mm.
understand someone else's conversation, and I was like, wow, I'm in a
Mm.
cafe and I'm listening, and that was great. That was
Yeah.
fantastic. When that happened, it got me.
Yeah, that happens a lot. Not a lot of times, but that feeling comes when I get to hear my home language in one of the cafes which I tend to go, and I know, okay, they are Indians, and oh, finally I can take a breathe that I
Yeah,
have someone known, even though they are speaking in their own. They have their own different conversation happening, but I
yeah,
feel at ease. So I think
yeah.
that does make an impact.
It is, and I suppose as we sort of closing off this conversation, but it does make me think. There's you know what I take away from speaking with you today is definitely this, um, finding calm in chaos, and your ability to do that in sport, translating that over into your day to day life is really important. And there's more there, and I'm thinking about, um, from a career perspective, systems, careers, and chaos in about how it's still managed to find our way through. And I add to that then this ability for you, definitely to be keeping calm under pressure, but this bubble piece, this being comfortable in one bubble and moving over to another bubble, but taking with you,
Yeah.
sorry, but yeah, going from one bubble to another bubble, but taking with you something that is comfortable, taking with you sport, taking with you language, but something that helps
Mm.
you just transcend. And those things to me, just yeah, that's really what I'm getting a sense of. As we talk today.
Yeah, very rightly said. Yeah. It's connecting the bubbles, I think.
Yes,
It's just
That's- this is going
connecting
to be.
the dots or the bubbles.
This will be the bit on the podcast is connecting the bubbles. How sport helps connect the bubbles across
Yeah.
continents, something like that. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's well. Look, I know I really should let you continue to enjoy your day, and I definitely want to say thanks for sharing or joining me on the conversation, but then also um, definitely getting me thinking. But before I let you go, I suppose you spoke before about a lot of youngsters coming through sports science and that changing of the game. You've been able to
Mm.
navigate your athletic career and get yourself academically ready in a position now to leap off. So when you look at this next crop, this next batch of rifle shooters coming through, if they're asking you for
Yeah.
guidance, your experience on how can they best prepare themselves for this life after sport, what guidance do you give them?
I would say that don't think in don't think or pre-assume anything. Let things flow however they are coming to you. Don't try to get that fear kick in inside you by thinking in too much in advance about how things will happen. You just need to be, you know, at that moment, think about, okay, what is the next important thing to do? That's it. Because the more we go, try thinking about future, the more worries or the more fear kicks in. And I think anything without fear is much better state to be in rather than moving with fear towards anything. So I think that is whether it's taking, shifting, transitioning from your sport to, you know, or studying or preparing for exams while you have a match on your head, anything for that matter. Don't think too much in advance. Just try to, breathe and go forward with that.
Breathe and pull the trigger in between the heartbeats. There we go, to slow things down.
Yeah.
And then I should
Yeah.
just look at the moment, I'm not sure, is what's that, 78? So there we go. I probably need to calm it down a lot more in order to be able to actually have the time to do it in between. But look, Shreya, thank
Yeah.
you very much for like I say, for just sharing your experience and your thoughts with me and everyone who's listening and watching today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I love the experience of sharing and talking to you.